Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the show, man. What's good? Roll Tide, everybody. Let me find my other headphone piece. I lost it in my hoodie. That's why y'all see me struggling. Welcome to the show, everyone. You got me and Coach Jay tonight. Coach Sean couldn't be with us. He had a family event to go to, so our thoughts and prayers are with Coach Sean, and hope he's out having a good time, enjoying himself, supporting his daughter, doing her thing. Coach Jay, how you feeling tonight, brother?
Man, I'm feeling all right, man. I'm feeling all right, feeling cocky, and I'm cold as all hell, man, because I'm outside trying to do this, visiting some family myself, but like I said, the show must go on, and can't wait to talk about recapping and hopefully get, move on. And oh boy, I'm just cold and excited.
Man, I'm excited too, man. I'm myself. We were actually, before the game kicked off, me and my family had started breaking down our house to move, man, and we stopped everything to enjoy that victory Saturday night versus those LSU Bayou Bengals, Bayou Tigers, whatever they want to be. It doesn't matter no more. We got the dub. Our revenge tour from 2022 is complete. But our overall revenge tour is definitely not complete. We have a long way to go. And before we even get into it, man, just want to give a shout out to Kyle Henderson, man, and Bama Football on YouTube for providing us the platform, and everybody that supports this channel, man. We really appreciate y'all. Even as we look in the chat, we see people showing up. We got the Dirty South Gaming, man. Roll Tide, baby. Let's go. Appreciate you for being here. Andrew Smith from Decatur, Alabama. Roll Tide. And George Johnson is in, running up the comments. Make sure you all come in and run up the likes. Hit that subscribe button if you're not a subscriber, so you can stay up to date with all your best Alabama football content. Dustin Etheridge in the chat. Roll Tide, roll. But yeah, man. Victory reactions, man. The LSU victory reaction, man. Just take a moment and just give the people your final reactions and thoughts about how Alabama was able to get that victory.
Talked about this on Saturday, man, but I'm super proud of the offense, super proud of Jalen Milroe's development. I love the confidence. I love the swagger that he was able to swim on the football field. I like the overall improvement from offensive line. Maybe really Caden Proctor, who is getting better and better the last couple of weeks. We've seen, and really again against tough defenses, man. I mean, Tennessee has, again, going against James Pierce, doing a really solid job against him, and then for the most part, doing a really good job against their defensive front. Whenever they place Harold Perkins, which wasn't a lot, but whenever they did, he stepped up to the plate, stepped up to the challenge, and he did a phenomenal job against that aspect. But I'm just overall proud of this team, their effort, the energy. I know a lot of people saw that how they were in the tunnel and just how hyped and how Roto Williams was getting everybody hyped up, and just the energy in the fans was able to provide. Like it was just an overall great day, an overall great environment. And like I said, guys, my heart was racing throughout that game. Like I said, if you guys are in Coach Smook's Discord, you guys know exactly how I was, man. I was typing every 2 seconds, going off and in and out. But like I said, it was just an overall great time. And this team's getting better, man. This team's getting better. Me, Coach Smook, and Coach Sean, we keep saying every week, man, this team, the more and more we play, like I said, there's mistakes being made, but there's mistakes that are easily being corrected the following week, man. We're getting better every single week, and it's going to be a matter of time before everything finally comes together for our team, man. So teams had their chance early in the season to get us, but now that's coming to an end, man. This team, I think, has arrived, and I think for the most part, that win, we put the entire country on notice.
Oh, without a shadow of a doubt, man. I think it more so trends towards the point I've been making since the Ole Miss game, and that's that this team just needs reps. This team is in the thick of a process, and they're handling high-level competition in the thick of their process. And I think the level of competition that was scheduled, and the fact that the schedule just so happened to be a year where teams that we're playing have a lot of talented experience. And for us to have a lot of talented inexperience and go into Ole Miss and shut down that high-powered offense, who I think they're averaging against every other team in the nation 30 plus.
47.
And we held them to 10 points in the thick of our process, and the offense was still able to put up more than 20 points. A struggling offense that didn't have an identity, and then you started to see the offense kind of start to accept what their identity was going to be, and that was a totally balanced offense. This offense is driven by any level of balance we can achieve and establish early in the game, and we saw that in this game against LSU. Tommy Rees found a niche pre-snap pre-snap motion and the formation shifts early in the game, and he saw it had early success, and that was something that we asked for from Tommy Rees. We wanted his first drive script to be effective. We wanted it to be one that gave you confidence that he had it figured out what this defense was going to show him and how he was going to attack it. And I believe if I had to give a final reaction and the thoughts, man, Tommy Rees really showed us that his potential. He showed us where he can be when he's locked in and there's an extra week of preparation. Now, I just want to continue to see the in-game adjustments being. And I think we started to see that, man. Personnel groupings was like no other. I didn't see a lot of guys getting heavy snaps because every time you turn around, it was like Dupree and Oots was split out wide, and then Oots and Prentice in the backfield, and then you look back again, Law and Roydell in the backfield, and Oots is at the slide. It was just so many personnel groupings. Knee Black was split out wide a few times. It was just the formation shifts and everything. The creativeness by the play calling was just a sight to see. So, man, I'm excited. I'm glad that we were able to come away with the victory. Not only did we come away with the victory, we blew the spread. You know, we more than covered the spread. And for those that thought Alabama couldn't put up 40, I called it. I told you all Alabama would reach 40 with a defensive turnover. And that's what happened. We literally, if it wasn't for that pick by Terry Arnold, we probably only ended in the game with 35, because they were driving that ball. But that early possession, that extra possession, we capitalized on every opportunity we had, every major opportunity. So that's the biggest thing. And anything else, Coach Jay, from that game, man, before we move on? Because I'm really over, rubbing. I want to go back to being that Alabama fan that didn't have to, say "told you so" anymore. I think the two teams that I really wanted that to be heard was we've handled that. What you think, Coach Jay?
No, I mean, I think for the most part, like I said, you called it 40 points. I mean, even my prediction, I said 42-21 was my prediction. And I was literally, to be fair, we should have scored 48 points if Will Reichert doesn't miss those 2 field goals. But I mean, it's this Bama offense, man, was just a sight to see. I'm just really just glad with the fact that, again, in a game where your defense struggled to make in-game adjustments, linebacking play wasn't the best, because I swear I had to go back and watch that game, and pretty much a lot of their explosive runs, it was just a lack of undiscipline, just a lack of adjustments by Kevin Steele for the most part. Deontay Lawson looked slow and sluggish, got caught napping, looking into the backfield instead of focusing on the quarterback. But it was for the most part, we weren't that good in the first half, and then all of a sudden, we had to rely on the offense to bail us out and win us games, and that's exactly what they did. They bailed the defense out. They created enough opportunities in order for them to eventually make a play and give it to your offense. I mean, it was one of those type of games where a turnover in the second half could very well not just swing the entire momentum. It could swing the game because of how potent both these offenses were. And it just so happened to be that we were up 35-28. A tip pass by Dallas Turner sealed it. Like it sealed the game. So, you got to just give a lot of props up to just overall this offense. And, again, LSU's defense is not good. Like it's not a good defense at all. They had 3 true freshmen in there. Sage Ryan was literally, Isaiah Bond literally made Sage Ryan look like Cinderella on ice, the way that entire game was going. But it's just overall seeing the entire progression and just seeing the improvement that we've been talking about for weeks, that fans need to be a little bit more patient with Tommy Rees, because it's there. It's there, but we got to be more consistent. And I feel like slowly but surely we continue to get better and better on a weekly basis.
Facts. And the thing, you said something, you were alluding to something, man. The defense to be able to create. I think the goal in this game wasn't to just totally shut Jaden Daniels down, but to limit how many opportunities we gave him. And when we did create stops, the offense, like you said, the offense was the key to this game, because Alabama's defense, as high-powered as that LSU offense was, we were able to create 4 different stops in the first half. So it was a good thing to see. And that late drive score, the late score in the second quarter to go into the half, that was just unfortunate. But I saw things being called defensively that I was like, okay, if the linebacker just stopped pressing the line of scrimmage for no reason when he's clearly supposed to be the spy, that drive doesn't even happen. So, like you said, and Terry and Arnold even went on to the interview and was saying he couldn't say what Kevin Steele and Coach Saban and the rest of that staff was saying in that locker room at halftime. So, and we saw the change, and that's the biggest thing. We both highlighted in-game adjustments is the biggest difference we've seen for this team compared to the team from 2 years ago and the last year. So happy to see that, man. Happy to see that. So let's roll over into this week's matchup. Again, once again, shout out to the Alabama Crimson Tide and the players and the staff, the organization, the fans. Celebrate that win. We enjoyed it. On to the next. Hey, do you have the video of Bond pregame? I heard he was a dog. I didn't, but I heard. Well, I saw some videos. There was a recruit that was visiting this weekend. I'm real close with his father. He's we basically family, man, and saw some videos on their timeline, and man, it's a different environment when those guys get up to play. That's the big thing. So that's a big thing going into this week. Let's dive into the Alabama versus Kentucky matchup this weekend. We're going to Lexington. So afternoon kickoff. Before we just jump into the keys to success versus the Wildcats, Jance, what does this Kentucky Wildcat team show you? What do they present? How do they present a threat to possibly, winning against Alabama?
Well, they're a very disciplined team, man. They're very disciplined defensively. They're very aggressive defensively. I think their defensive line offers a better challenge, in my opinion, than LSU. They may not be as big as LSU, but they're definitely physical. They got some speed coming off the edge. I think their linebackers, for the most part, are very, very disciplined as well. They can play sound in coverage. They can play sound in coverage. They're excellent blitz backers as well. Their defensive line, for the most part, again, they're not the biggest guys, but they can play gap discipline ball. But yeah, this is a Kentucky team that relies heavily on their defense and relies on the run game, right? Devin Leary, since coming from NC State, doesn't, 2 years ago with NC State, Devin Leary looked like a potential Heisman Trophy candidate quarterback, and then the last couple of years has not gone right for him. But yeah, with Kentucky, he's been the classic game managing type quarterback where they simply rely heavily on the run game and they play sound defense. That's what they do. They're basically the Iowa of the SEC. And again, they're not the most talented group. They don't get the 5 stars or the 4 stars. I mean, again, this is a team that relies a lot on the transfer portal, but Mark Stoops is a good coach. Yes. Mark Stoops is a very, very good coach. And these Kentucky teams, the last 3 to 4 years, they've always been really good, disciplined teams with physical offensive lines, right? I mean, we have, as our offensive line coach, we have one of them from Kentucky who was a Joe Moore candidate for a reason, right? So Kentucky, this is going to be as much as we're on cloud 9 right now because we beat LSU. Kentucky is a team that they do I think that this is a team that offers more of a challenge than Tennessee and LSU on paper? No. But is this a team that, for the most part, if you get caught lacking, if you get caught sleeping, that Kentucky can go in there and just absolutely shut you in the mouth? Yeah. Kentucky, for the most part, is a solid football team. They're 5-3. I think they're 5-3, I believe, 5-3 or 6-3. But for the most part, guys, I mean, this is going to be a football team that's going to offer a particular challenge. Like Jalen Milroe scrambling around and having 4 rushing touchdowns and doing all that. I can guarantee you Kentucky's going to have a spy, because that's one thing LSU did not have for the majority of this game, was having that spy. I can guarantee you that Kentucky's going to go ahead. They're going to make adjustments, and they're going to do whatever it takes to really go ahead and stop the run game. They're going to come up with their corners, try to jam our receivers, be physical. They're going to try to make this game extremely messy. They're going to make it messy. So I'm up for the challenge. I hope this team's up for the challenge. It's going to be a fun match, man. It's going to be a very, very fun match. This is going to be a classic SEC type of matchup where you got two teams that are going to be physical in the trenches. Everyone's going to be bruised up after this thing. it's gonna be good. I love matchups like this.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And one thing, they're actually 6-3. Their
Yep.
three losses have come in conference play against conference opponents. I think Missouri still ranked after their loss
Yes.
this weekend.
Yes.
So yeah, they lost to Missouri, who's gave Georgia a run. I mean, if Brody doesn't fold in that last two drives, man, that play calling doesn't start to, they don't get away from that run game, they give themselves a better chance to compete against Georgia in that game and possibly win. But they beat Florida. I mean, handled Florida. I watched that game and enjoyed it. That Missouri game was good until the second half. Devin Leary got very uncharacteristic with ball placement and just game management. And Tennessee only beat them by 6 points. So this Kentucky team, they provide, like you said, a solid defense, holding Mississippi State to 3 points just this past weekend. They provide a consistent run game in their running attack. They're committed to leading on it. They're committed to leading on it. So if we can't control that up front, that this game can drag out. If we can't stop them 2 times, first and second down on the run behind the line of scrimmage, and keep them from making extended, plays downfield, this game can definitely drag into the late in the third quarter. But I just gotta see more from that offense for me to feel like they're a serious threat. I feel like any team that's going to be run heavy plays into our hands. Kind of like going against Georgia. If you think your offense is thriving off of the run game, it needs to build off of the run game, then it's going to be a long game for you. And Georgia showed that against Kentucky. As much as because I think that was after the record-setting game by the running back, right? Ray, he went
Ray
against
Davis?
Florida. Yeah, Ray Davis
Yeah,
went
he went off.
he went off against Florida the week before. So they went in, and Kentucky has not changed up their game plan. They are, like you said, they are committed to the run game. So keys to success, man. As we segue into that, I want to say, if I could start it off, the keys to success versus the Wildcats, I'll take the defensive side, and I'll let you take the offensive side, Coach Dave, if that's cool with you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so our Alabama defensive keys to success is basically like I said in my initial statement, you got to have guys like Tim Keenan, Jaheim Otis, Justin Eboigbe, Tim Smith, James Smith. We saw get some snaps last game, which was crazy. What's my other guy came in? Damon Payne. I mean, guys just was that rotation was deep. So when those guys are in, being that we're going to be running against a heavy run attack team, which is what we're assuming that they're going to come out in. They will, with us trending upwards and everybody giving that heat to us now. They will probably try to come out and be uncharacteristic and catch us off guard. But from what I've seen, they haven't changed for anybody. I don't think they're going to change for us. So, but the D-line gap containment discipline is going to be key. But most importantly, linebackers gap fitting is going to be so important with this team, because they have 2 running backs that if they can squeak through a hole in the middle of the field, and the way our safeties are overhang contain help guys, meaning they're hanging out in that overhang area to help seal the perimeter of the run game and force things back inside, or option contain, that is going to be dangerous. I don't want him in the open field against any of our secondary, and I'm not saying that to disrespect any of our secondary, but that's a dude right there. He's a physical runner, and you can't arm tackle that kid or throw a shoulder or throw your body at his leg, because he's going to just run. So, and secondary just has to play discipline. They will take their shots downfield, but like we said earlier, Devin Leary has been so up and down. You don't know which Devin Leary is going to show up. Would it be an afternoon game at home? You would expect him to be comfortable in his home, but his worst QBR averages so far this season compared to at home and away. Away, his QBR is a 79.8. At home, it's a 64.3. So that tells me that something is not clicking there with this kid, and we know that our defense has the ability to get pressure on just about any quarterback in any quarterback in the country. Kevin Steele is going to dial it up. So I'm excited to see this defense and this Wildcat offense go at each other. Before you give your take on the offense and how they find success against our defense, what do you see in our defense having success against their offense real quick?
Oh, we're gonna stop the run. I'm very. This is one of those games. Like, this is one of those games where you just. This is why I talked about this Saturday. Not everyone's gonna have a Jaden Daniels that's gonna just absolutely just chew you up with those huge running lanes. Because with those huge running lanes, I'm telling you, not everyone's gonna do that. This is gonna be a classic. This is gonna be a classic kind of pro style type of offense, which heavily relies on the inside, relies on the inside zone. I'm telling you this right now, what Alabama can do to potentially win this game defensively: stack the box, stack it, put 8, put 9, do what you got to do. You can play cover one. You can have that one high on the way in the back. You can again Terrion Arnold, and it depends what happens if they want to have Terrion on at star or Trey Amos on as that boundary guy. But this is one of those games where you make Kentucky beat me through the air.
Yep.
Make Kentucky beat me through the air. And to be fair, like I said, this is a game where I'm confident in Terrion Arnold. I'm confident in Kool-Aid. I'm confident in even Trey Amos. I'm confident in the guys in the back end of my secondary with Caleb Downs. And if Malachi Moore plays safety or if they place, depending on the situation, what's going to be going on with Jalen Key, I'm still confident overall in the secondary to honestly get the job done. And this is what we use depth with inside linebackers. This is a game, honestly, where I think if you want to use if you want to kind of play Trez Marshall primarily, I wouldn't have that much of a problem with it. Using him more as that extra run defender or as a blitzer. Yeah, I wouldn't mind it because he's dominant, especially when it comes to blitzing in those inside gaps. So I'm overall looking forward to this game. This is pretty much a matchup for Alabama's defense. This is a dream type matchup for Alabama's defense because I'm telling you, there is not a lot of teams that plays kind of like Kentucky does. And this is why I keep trying to tell these Big Ten clowns over here that keeps overrating Michigan for saying, "Oh, we're so dominant." Oh no. Put Alabama in the Big Ten Conference with the offenses that you have and watch how Alabama's defense will sort it up one in the nation.
I mean,
compared to what we have against.
Jay, you make a solid statement when we make that comparison because teams that need, like I just said, teams that need the run game to be established in order to find success. It's hard to do it against Alabama. It's hard to do it against Georgia. It's hard to do it against teams like healthy LSU. Even early in this year, like Texas A&M and Tennessee, because when you have guys up front, when you have 3 or 4 guys up front that can literally take on 2 guys and at any point in time, one of those 4 guys is taking on 2, you don't win one-on-ones much up front. Up front, it's hard when you're dealing with five stars across your face. So it's one of those things to see, like this Kentucky team just, if they had more legit of a passing attack, I'd be a little bit more worried because, we've seen our secondary, particularly just in the safety area, kind of get mixed up. But the type of discipline they play with against teams that have to depend on the run, you made a key point. If Malachi Moore is allowed to just play overhang with Caleb Downs and Amos, if they do have their 11 personnel, they have their 14 personnel that they like to use 13. So if those guys in that nickel set are allowed to just cover Amos, Arnold, Kool-Aid, boundary coverage concept with Malachi and Caleb, run support. This is one of those games where I see multiple guys being double-digit tackles. And I think that's what a lot of these guys are ready to get back to. They ready to get back to clashing in the trenches, So I'm excited to see that, man. Jump over to the offensive side, man. I know I don't think we have too many concerns defensively. Offensively, I think we're more curious to see how this offense continues to grow, man. What are some of the things that you think, or what's your analysis as far as the offense having success versus that Wildcat defense?
It's going to be a very interesting game because I think that Kentucky's defense is better than LSU's. I think they're a little bit more disciplined right now than LSU and a lot more healthier. It's kind of one of those. I mean, for the most part, it's one of those defenses that I think inside they get underestimated a lot. I think for the most part, I think Deion Walker in the interior defensive line is one of those guys. He can clog up lanes pretty easily. I think he plays that Mekhi Wingo type role that LSU kind of has, and that obviously they missed him in that game because it was a big difference. They're going to have a little bit of a difference maker on the inside that can definitely cause some havoc. And then obviously you look at you look at a JJ Weaver, who's also can be dangerous. That 6'5", 240-pound type guy with the long wingspan. He's kind of caused havoc with 4 sacks. They have long rangey type corners on the outside. They're a pretty balanced defense that do have playmakers everywhere. This is going to be a defense for the most part. They're going to take a look at this film. They're going to crowd. They're going to crowd. I think that this is going to be one of those similar game plans to A&M, where it's simply beat me through the air, because we're not going to allow Jalen Milroe to pretty much run rampant. A lot of Jalen Milroe's most successful runs weren't even quarterback designed runs. It was just simply broken plays, or plays that were maybe starting to develop, but Milroe for the most part just took off because the lane was so wide open. Then he says, I got to take it. I have to take it, which is something that we've been kind of saying that, hey, Jalen Milroe, take it more of advantage of instead of trying to be a pocket passer, being a quarterback that you're not supposed to be. So I think that this is going to be a Kentucky team that's going to try to confuse Milroe. This is going to be a defense that, for the most part, they're not going to make it easy to try to go through those running lanes. They're going to try to crowd this box, in my personal opinion, and they try to kind of do a similar game plan to Georgia. The Tennessee game was kind of more of a similar game plan as well. And they lost those battles, but they did have moments where have moments where, Georgia and Tennessee had some frustration. But ultimately, Jalen Wright had I think he had over 150 yards in that game, and he averaged over close to 7 yards per carry. Georgia did whatever the hell they wanted to do with literally 3 or 4 running backs in committee. They did whatever they wanted to do, right? They went inside their house, took and grabbed the milk carton from them, drunk the milk carton right in front of them, emptied the carton out, and they just left the house without any notice. They did whatever they wanted to do with Kentucky. So it's one of those games where I think from a game plan standpoint, it's going to be a little bit more challenging, but I just don't think Kentucky overall has the horses, right? I don't think that they just have the 5 and 4-star guys in order to try to make it a messy type game. Now, I will say this: if our offense regresses and we start to kind of go back to playing like how we did against Arkansas and how we played against Tennessee in that first half, where everything starts to be a little more sloppy, play calling starts to become a little more questionable, we start to kind of go away what works best. Then, if you turn it into a sloppy game, that's where Kentucky wants. Kentucky wants they want to make it sloppy. They want to, in a way, waste time, right? They're not one of these offenses that simply scores in less than 2 minutes. This is one of these teams that, for the most part, they take control of the clock and they want to chew out 4 or 5 minute drives. They want to tire you out, have their defense conserve energy. That's what Kentucky does, right? It's a Big Ten type of a big time style of a football team. So if you try to play into their hands and play messy with undisciplined football, then yeah, you're going to make it into a sloppy game. You're going to make it into a much closer game than what it needed to be. And we've had situations all season long where that's kind of been the case. But I do think this offense will get it together. I do think, in a way, this offensive line, based on what we saw the last couple of weeks, where we have shown progression, not just in pass pro, but what we've done as far as running the football goes, and how this offensive line has become a little bit more physical, especially with the addition of Jaden Roberts, like you and Sean have kind of pointed out a lot of times. Tyler Booker has kind of become the alpha of that offensive line. Caden Proctor has gotten a lot better, especially at run block. I've been saying this since week one. Caden Proctor is probably the best run blocker, arguably, on the team. This is just one of those games where I think that, for the most part, everything is going to, I think, turn itself out really, really well. And I think ultimately Alabama's run game, despite what Kentucky's going to try to do as far as trying to mitigate that run and mitigate Jalen Milroe's ability to really scramble, I think that I don't even think, for the most part, I don't think you really even need him to get 4 touchdowns and have the amount of rushing success, because I think that, for the most part, our running backs are going to have the best game, I think, of the season.
I agree, man. I agree. Jump into these super chats. My guy Nicholas Harden with a 199 super chat. Appreciate that, man. And Roll Tide. And he came back again with the 499. He had to spin the block. He said if Bama plays 4 quarters like they played LSU, they will win big. Will win big. I think if Alabama plays 4 quarters against everybody left on our schedule, everybody in the country, like we played against LSU, minus the minor early mental mistakes that turn into big plays by our inside linebackers. You know, letting and like I said, we won't see another. Where's another Jaden Daniels in the country? Jay,
Nowhere.
you get what I'm saying? I mean,
Nowhere.
maybe Bo Nix presents the same type uh of threat and type of offense with the effectiveness that LSU in that offense does. If we have to see them in the playoffs when we make it and book it, I said when we make it. Um, but Carson Beck is a solid quarterback, but he doesn't present threats like that. And I still don't think that they've seen the caliber of defense that we're presenting on a consistent basis. I don't think Georgia has seen it, and they won't see it. Ole Miss is probably their last major test. If Tennessee can get healthy, they may be able to challenge them. But like I said, this team has been battle tested and is showing up now. We're after a bye week where you can actually sit down for a week and go through each game, and you can see how you've gotten better. I think that's what happened with this offensive line. If I this as far as the keys to success, the offensive line is going to be the key to me, man. Milroe being confident and comfortable was the key to success in the win against LSU. You know, and like you said, the LSU defense was down a lot of players, man, a lot of starters. But the fact that Alabama went out and took advantage of that and did what they were supposed to do and didn't struggle to put up 40 points against that hurt defense. That's the confidence, not the fact that we did it against a hurt defense, but the fact that it was a hurt defense and we did it the way we had to do it. We would want them to do it, not at a minimum level. We didn't struggle to put up, 21 points in the first half. It should have. It honestly, man. If the linebacker play was a lot better in the first half, a lot of those 20. I think Jaden Daniels had a 22, a 36, and a 38-yard run in the first half.
Yeah, there was another run. It was another like 30-yard run but it was called back because of a block in the back.
Right. So like that's 100 yards by both quarterbacks had 100 rushing yards before the first half was over. So we mitigate that and cut that in half, man. That's a different game. That's probably close. That's closer to 50, and that's with Will Riker missing those field goals.
Yeah, and that's because Deontay Lawson is like 11. Our linebackers are 11, 12 yards deep. What they did in the second half was that they just said, you know what, we're gonna stop moving back 11, 12 yards deep. Let's go back
stay at 7,
4, 5 yards. Yeah, stay at 4, 5, 6, maybe even 7 yards. Stay around there, and you can have a much easier time of getting those pursuit angles right to them. I mean, it was
right. It was. I mean, and it was. You could tell it was a mental errors and eagerness, man, because they were firing off, when they were making their decisions. It's just horrible angles, man. But back to the offense, man, because I want to highlight the running backs, man. The running backs in this game, like you said, are going to be key. I think not necessarily in the run game, but in the pass pro, because I see us dialing up a lot of the 2-man pass game with max protection. I see us dialing up a lot of that jet sweep motion, play action motion. I see Tommy Rees continuing to unveil his creativity within the whole grand scheme of this offense, but more so keying on the tight end group. I've been seeing some play calling, man, and we saw it in 2 key drives in the beginning of the game where Milroe's targets to Knee Black and Dupree were like designed targets to those guys, and those guys were open a lot in the game. I saw somebody in the chat say it earlier. The more Milroe begins to see his open receivers, those check downs and the quick, hot routes off of the blitzes, especially coming from the middle of the field, the more he continues to see that and understand that his best target is the big body tight end, hitting them in the numbers. This offense is just going to become even more dangerous, man. But the running backs in the pass blocking and is going to be key, man, because like you said, Kentucky is going to be Kentucky. And that's one thing I could respect about this team and their defense and how their culture and how they're built, and what they bring to the table. They're going to be there. Injuries and all. What else? About 5 years ago, they had a wide receiver at quarterback, and they beat Florida.
No,
I can't remember the guy's name, but he was a wide receiver, and all the wide receivers
ran Wildcat. They just ran Wildcat.
He had like 8 pass attempts during the time he played starting quarterback for 4 games. He had 8 pass attempts or some crazy junk, and they beat Florida that year. So I love it, man. I love it. I like how we match up against this defense offensively. Let's jump into the chat, man, and see what some of the fans are talking about, because the fan base really surprised me in their willingness to apologize to Jalen Milroe. You know that? I will say that I'm so happy and I'm appreciative as a because people been coming at me talking about you weren't on the Milroe train. Yes, I was, man. I since Milroe started this game, that game against Middle Tennessee State, I have been on the Milroe train. We've pointed out his obvious areas of improvement that we need to see in order for this offense to reach its peak. But nobody on this panel was never off the Milroe train. Nobody was on the Ty Simpson train. Nobody was on the Buckner train. And some of you were even going as far as saying Lonergan could be the guy. So, but the statement was made. I did make the statement. I said if Milroe was to struggle in that Middle Tennessee State game and Simpson was to come in because of Milroe struggles, Simpson would have the job going forward. Yes, I did say that. But that was before the game when we were all having the same talks about, the QB competition. It was an open competition. No, there was no clear-cut starter. We hadn't seen any film on anybody for this season. So I'm excited about Milroe, man. And to see the fan base come back around full circle, start settling down a little bit, feels good, man. Feels good. Now we could start talking more football instead of emotions. And that's what we want to see. We want to see good football. We want to see emotional football from these guys. We want to see passion from the fans. And it's a great time to be an Alabama fan. Guys, remember the first time we went through this process, this is giving me eerie feelings to like 2009, 2010. You get what I'm saying, Jay? Like, I don't know about you, but 2009, 2010 was like my freshman year of college. I was doing my thing, but watching Alabama football as a football collegiate athlete myself, but being an Alabama fan, it just felt different. I felt like I was going to practice and practicing for the weekend game against Kentucky. So
Mhm.
um what's your feel around this program so far before we get into these comments, man?
Oh, it's just getting better, man. Because like my record predictions 10 was what my record prediction was 11-2. Well, I had this team going to the SC championship game and they're losing to Georgia, but I had this. But this was the one year where I thought, you know what, they'll probably lose 2 games, but this is going to be more positive compared to last year because I thought that this defense was going to be back. I thought the defense was going to be back, and it was going to take a while for this offense to try to figure some things out, and that's exactly how it's been. It's the defense has been great pretty much since the beginning of the season, and this offense has been trying to find his identity. But one thing that I did not expect to happen was Milroe's progression. He's progressing extremely well, faster than I thought that he could be during my season prediction. I think Alabama legit they have a chance. This team
Oh,
has a legitimate chance to potentially win a national championship because everything is starting to click on all cylinders. I didn't think that Tommy Rees was going to going to make these receivers a lot better and drop receiving concepts that would make these receivers ultimately better. I didn't know it
and,
was going to happen like this.
and rightfully so, he gave us concerns coming out of that Texas game. He gave us concerns. But then you remember I was the one, and we were all kind of hinting at it, like Tommy Rees, you're calling some good plays, man, because we see the receivers open, but your quarterback is not ready for that. He's
Mm-hmm.
not ready to process that. And I think that's what the argument was. I don't think it was never a doubt, that it couldn't be. I think it was just the fact that there has to be a process for this guy to be able to grow. How can Tommy Rees, what is Tommy Rees going to be graded on at the end of the year? His development of the quarterback, not necessarily the
Yep.
success of the offense, but the development of the quarterback, because we knew that if he could develop Jalen Milroe, the Lamar Jackson 2.0, which is what we literally saw against LSU, Lamar Jackson 2.0. When you go back and you look at when Lamar splashed on the scene, he went
That
for
Florida State
four
game.
touchdowns, 4 rushing touchdowns, and 1 passing touchdown. I think
Mm-hmm.
I think that was four
That
four
was
and four.
definitely. It was
It was
that FSU game was crazy. That 63-7 type game where Lamar. I mean,
yeah.
it was a similar game plan.
Similar style of gameplay, and then you just like the nation started watching them, and by the time the nation started watching Lamar, we didn't get to see him struggle early in that season the same way Jalen Milroe struggled early in this season, because Lamar Jackson's deep ball was great, but he couldn't hit the intermediate for nothing either. Even going into his pro day, that's what their concerns was, his accuracy on the intermediate pass. his ball control on the short pass. Same concerns we had about Jalen Milroe, but this guy's making plays. That rollout and flip to Jace McClellan, to see Jace McClellan like that, to have that type of comfortability and awareness. This guy's time, his clock, his processing is speeding up, man. And we can't help but give credit, because if you look at Tommy Rees's job description as an offensive coordinator, he's also listed as the passing game coordinator and the quarterback coach. Him and Holman Wiggins work hand in hand with the quarterbacks. So there's something that Tommy Rees is bringing to the table right now that's related to Jalen Milroe, that he's been able to process this thing faster than what he was 2 years under Bill O'Brien as a backup. So I see a different look in Milroe's eyes, and I just want to give Tommy Rees his flowers, man, because yes, I think we all had doubts coming out of that Texas game. It was just no creativity, and then games after that, we would see creativity, then go away from it, or we'd be heavy on the run game like against Arkansas and then go away from it. But last game, oh my God, the balance, the play calling, the placement of play calling, the jet sweep, the pre-snap motion, read option look, RPO look. I mean, he gave us everything. Toss sweep,
Game
under center,
game feel.
Under center, 2 plays back to back to go in for a touchdown on the goal line. Yep. Two plays back to back. It looked, man, it looked like we were in victory formation. I was like, what are we doing? He had three backs behind Milroe. And then you look at the personnel he had in there. It wasn't like Kobe Prentice and somebody else in the back. It was like Oots. People you want in the backfield blocker, Oots, Roydell, and Jace, or Oots, Roydell, and Jam. And then you had Danny Lewis out there on the perimeter and Dupree on the other end. Like, you don't have knee black out there in the heavy. You don't need him out there. So it felt so good to see that, man. I'm ready to see if they're gonna let either Tim Keenan or Jaheim Otis get on a heavy package. I would. You get what I'm saying? That's that feel I'm getting about how this team is trending, man. Imagine Jaheim Otis or Tim Keenan lining up at fullback on the play action fullback leap to the flats. Man, you know something like that'll happen against Georgia. Saban loves to pull those type of moves against in those huge games, because everybody thinks he's just so one. I don't know why college football continues to see Saban as his one track guy. He's the most I want to say flexible or most evolved coach over this era.
He's willing to adjust when a fly, man. He's willing to it. That I will never forget the year after we lost to Menzel, what we did the following year as far as changing our recruiting process. We went from getting 323, getting Mount Cody's and Jesse Williams type defensive lineman, to just getting all of a sudden a 245-pound Jonathan Allen and getting him all the way to 270 and getting Tim Williams. We just started after that game was over. Our recruiting process literally changed after that game. We went after faster, more athletic, and leaner guys.
Yeah.
And we just, it was, man, Nick's, when it comes to adaptability, he's the GOAT. He is the GOAT as far as just adapting to whatever situation. He's not. I mean, again, look what he did with the offense. He decided to evolve the offense, and he decided to go after Lane Kiffin, and then then that evolved with Dable and Sarkisian and Loxley and the rest of these guys. Like, he changed. We went from having kind of more of a traditional style of offense to then all of a sudden having literally 3 of the top 10 greatest offenses in the 2000s era. 3.
Yes. Yeah.
Like, it's.
And to think, man, you got to go back to early in Saban's career. Alabama wasn't the shiny destination for elite quarterbacks, man.
No,
it didn't present the glitz and glamour. Yeah, you're going to get the wins. Yeah, you're going to. But up until about 2012, 2013, I want to say up until Blake Sims. So that was Lane Kiffin, right? Blake Sims, Lane Kiffin.
We had Phil Sims too. Remember, Phil Sims was like a. Well, he was a borderline five-star
yeah,
guy. He was battling AJ McCarron.
Yeah, Phil was he was the first Blake Barnett. He just didn't have the national media on his neck. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what Phil was. He not overrated, but he was definitely not ready for the moment. You know, he got a lot of hype coming in from Alabama fans for whatever reason. I mean, his high school highlight film. I don't know if you ever watched it.
I've seen it.
You know, old school style highlight films, man. I mean, he was a dog, but yeah, when AJ beat him out, and we even saw the offense try to evolve as while AJ McCarron was at the range. So, but when Lane Kiffin came in, that's when I knew Coach Saban, it was going to be hard to unseat him as like one of the top coaches in college football during that time. And then how he continued to evolve as coaches were leaving. You know, we still won 3 national championships through coaches transitioning in and out between a 7-year span. You can't find that in another program anywhere.
Which is nuts. 3 national titles, 5 championship appearances.
It's
all
crazy.
of that during a transitional period, year in and year out. That's insane.
Crazy. It's crazy,
really
man.
Unheard of.
It's crazy. So let's talk about some of the X factors going into this game against Kentucky, because it's so many that I would like to highlight. Because I just saw so much this last game against LSU. I think Kendrick Law, number one for the offense, is going to be an X factor this game against Kentucky. That jet sweep action with him is something serious. And I see the perimeter guys. You know, we had our concerns about Black and Burton on the perimeter block. Well, not so much as Burton, but Black out there in the in open space. You know, at least getting a hand on somebody or getting active. We saw him get active this past weekend. So I look at Kendrick Law being an X factor. Who name one of yours, brother?
I'm gonna name 2: Amari Black, and then I'm gonna say Isaiah Bond. I think that those are gonna be 2 X factors. I think for Black, again, watching that, Black was open in like maybe 4 or 5 occasions where Jalen Milroe, he took off prematurely, but 3 of them he was open on shallow crosses, waving his hands, but Jalen Milroe decided to take off, and then Black said, "Okay, we're not gonna throw it. All right, well, let me just turn around and just try to be a blocker and try to get you out in perimeter space, man." But yeah, Black it's a problem, man. He's a problem, man. And I'm telling you, his time's coming.
Yeah,
his time is coming, because he was making, I forgot who was their slot, but he was making whoever their slot was and looking like Elsa from Frozen, man. I mean, he was a killer out there when it came to some of his route patterns, man. But no, Isaiah Bond, I think he's also going to be a big problem as well. I think for the most part, this is one of those games where I think RPOs and especially a lot of the play action is going to be utilized a lot, only because I think that for the most part, they're going to bring a lot of dudes up. They're going to cheat a lot of those safeties. Those safeties will be coming down, I think, a little bit hard. And those safeties, they do cheat. These guys, they're not afraid to kind of bring it up. And I think you can potentially, that creates a lot of mismatch opportunities. I think that creates a lot of one-on-one opportunities. And that's something where you can stretch the field vertically. You can use Isaiah Bond in the slot. Maybe you can place Burton there as well. But I do think that Black, this is one of those games where I think tight ends normally against Kentucky.
Yeah.
Kentucky gets torn up by tight ends.
Yeah.
If you go back and watch a lot of their games, the one position that tears them up are tight ends up the middle.
Watch the Georgia game.
Yep, they got tore up by their tight ends, man, and that's without Brock Bowers. Like,
let me go pull those stats real quick, because I want to say McConkey, when they did the pass breakdown during the game, the little bit, they put the chart up. McConkey's success was literally on the curls and the slants. He would literally go and sit in the middle of their defense, and it's curls, like they are committed to sending pressure when they see you run formation. They're going to send 5 guys minimum. And I don't think they have enough talent in the secondary to man up across the field when our offensive line is providing Jalen Milroe with 3.2, 3.8. I think the average snap to release last week was 3.8. And that's a whole 1.4 seconds up from the Arkansas game in the second half. So that just goes to show you what this offensive line is doing. But if that defense comes out with that, that shaky 0 look, I don't think it pans out good for them. I don't think it pans out good for them at all.
Nope. But
I'm trying to pull these stats, man, from the Georgia Kentucky game, because that game, like you said, Brock Bowers didn't play that game, but they still dropped 51. And McConkey. And I think I want to say, let me go, man. It just lines up for us to kind of explore and take the next step into the phase of this offense's development. Look like we had some more super chats come through, man. Introvert Rockstar with the $9.99 super chat. Jalen Milroe is turning into a leader right before our eyes. is a great thing to see. I think he's been a leader. Jalen Milroe
So he's
showed me
always been the leader.
he showed me he was the leader. That USF game, that was really when it was solidified for me. That's when I knew it wasn't a facade about his mission, his agenda, with his team and the starting quarterback. I felt like that game he showed me he understood the mantle that he was carrying as an Alabama quarterback, and if it's important to him, then it's going to be important to the team because you're the guy that's handling it, you're the guy that's looked at. So it's just infectious, man. It's infectious to see this young man who's so well spoken, man. Again, another quarterback at Alabama, well spoken leader. But he's just bringing that intensity we need. He's not that super nice guy like Bryce was. Bryce brought his fire, but Milroe's bringing that heat, man. When he ran that DB over, when he ran him over and just walked back to the huddle like he didn't run nobody over, man, I was like, man, this boy is something else. He's feeling it. He's feeling it, and he's built for it. He's a running back at quarterback. Like, he's a quarterback that's playing. He's a running back playing quarterback that can be a quarterback. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's the perfect soup you want to sip on. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But hey, I did want to continue to talk about Jaden Roberts, man, being added to this lineup. And just his effectiveness, man. You kind of alluded to it earlier about how he's just mauling people, but there were like 6 or 7 plays against LSU where he was throwing the defensive end and going to the second level, man. Or when he's double teaming, it's like he's trying to hog the block.
He nutmegged somebody. There was one play, man, where he stood.
Man. It was one play, man. He was supposed to be helping on the double team against the nose tackle, man. And Seth had the guy stood up, and he just cleaned Seth and the nose tackle, bro, and went
just
to the second.
nutmegged him, dog. Stood literally all right on top of him, dog. Like I'm like, man, like give Seth a chance, get him.
Hey, and Seth got up, shaking his head like, dang, he was helping Seth up, laughing, and it's infectious because you see Latham. The reason I think he's able to do that because Latham is quietly really just shutting everything down on the right side, man. We're not seeing many offline pressures from that right tackle spot get to Milroe. I mean, that's why Milroe always escapes to the right. He's always got a chance to Latham side. That's what he feels like, and it's kind of conditioning like that. What you got to say about this offensive line and development? I know I talked about Jaden Roberts. Who else? You said something about Caden Proctor earlier. Talk about him, man, because people didn't want to trust the process with him.
No, he's getting better. I mean, his technique, his kick. I mean, his kick slide's getting a lot better. He looks a little bit more quicker. He looks more confident. I think that's the most important thing. He looks way more confident now compared to what he was before. He looked before he looked a little bit more hesitant, didn't really trust in his technique, kept overreaching at times, and now I think he's just starting to trust the process himself. He's not really overreaching as much. He's trusting his overall footwork. And you can tell, man, he's holding up his own. And like I said, if you can contain a guy like a speed rusher and Harold Perkins in certain sets where he's trying to use that dip under you, he got him once, under it, but never again after that. I mean, Caden Proctor did a really, really good job against LSU's defensive front. And again, is it the greatest defensive line in the world? No, but what he did this game, especially compared to last game where he went up against one of the best edge rushers in the SEC and James Pierce, and you pretty much did besides the one strip sack, you stalled him up, which by the way, both sacks weren't even his fault because of Milroe stood too long in the pocket both times. So Proctor's getting better, man. Proctor's getting a lot better, and we need that anchor because we will be going against better edge rushers. I think going against the player, I think either Weaver or they might put Eldry on the side. It's going to be interesting to see who they do. But it's kind of going to be one of those dudes where it's a long, rangy wingspan type guy that kind of reminded me a little bit of Landon Jackson type vibes from Arkansas, and I'm interested in seeing if Caden Proctor can step up to the challenge and handle that. Because he has struggled against long-range guys. Ethan Burks from Texas gave him work because of his range. So this is the one game where I'm actually excited to see if Caden Proctor does step up to the plate, because if he can contain that, stop that, and Weaver has, I think both Weaver and Ogier have 4 sacks. So it depends on which one goes in there. Typically on their goal side, they like to switch at times, but it's going to be fun watching what Caden Proctor does, because if Caden Proctor does a great job this game, that's 3 games in a row now where Caden Proctor has played at a really, really good level. And that just tells me all I need to know, man, that overall wise, if Jalen Milroe can be protected on the inside, the interior is getting a lot better. If that left side's now getting a lot better too, compared to Jalen Milroe, like you just said, always rolling to the right. I mean, it's just it's gonna be lights out. It's gonna be lights out, man. And again, yeah, I'm just excited to see what overall happens with this offensive line overall.
Right. And Jay, it's funny that you say that because I think the very thing that we were worried about, I think Kentucky is dealing with left tackle issues also.
Yep.
And that was the side that that Georgia was able to kind of just like anytime they wanted or dialed it up, you just send a double look at his face. You put 2 in front of that left tackle and he was kind of getting struggled. He was struggling with it. So I think they're going to be curious to see that if their left tackle is improved because now they're going to see that level of after 2 weeks ago seeing that type of talent, they're going to get maybe a Chris Bryce or a Dallas Turner. You might have Jaheim Otis wide 9 on you, and over top of the tackle, you don't know. You might have the straight up 5 technique. You never know. So it's going to be curious. I'm curious to see that, but also the style of blitzes Kevin Steele is going to dial up. That's what I'm excited to see. I think he's going to kind of get a lot more exotic, being that this is a heavy run team, and with Lawson being out, and somebody asked the question earlier. I want to see if I can pull it back up. It says, okay, Gelato came in earlier with the question. He said, "Do you guys think Campbell will take Lawson's job if he can't go?" I honestly, if Lawson can't go this game, if he's nicked up, I say sit him. I think this inside linebacker room, even
you
with
don't need to rush.
you don't need to rush.
You do not need to rush his return
because we want Lawson 100% for Georgia. I need Lawson dissecting because Lawson is familiar with that Georgia offense, and Marshall, he's familiar with, he has familiarities, and to have a guy like Campbell being able to play off of guys like that, and come in and play free and not have to play catch up or play field because somebody's missing an assignment ahead of him and stay in that rotation. I think this game plays a lot into gaining confidence towards that type of look. Being that we're trending towards seeing Georgia in the SEC championship if we continue to handle business. So to answer your question, Gelato, my answer would be not necessarily take his job, but I think Campbell, Blackshire, and Lawson are definitely fit to handle this type of offense this game. What about you, Coach Jay?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I really have nothing to say to that. I completely agree with what you have to say about that.
Right. And I mean, it's just one of those things where it matches up with the skill sets, not only personnel, but skill sets. You got guys like Marshall and Blackshire who just love to blow the run game up. That's where they are the most effective, when they can stay behind press the line of scrimmage and fill the gaps. They're not at their best at run perimeter coverage.
Right.
They're not best at dropping back. They can play sideline to sideline when it's a run game being pushed out to them or pushed out, strung out to the sideline. They could track from the backside and close backside cuts. But that inside run style game that Kentucky presents, this is right up their alley.
This is not a team that likes to run outside the perimeter. They love to run simply just downhill and just beat you up, physical front. You can literally use these guys, play free, have less responsibility, simplify the responsibility of both those linebackers, and they're going to have a good time. It's Thanksgiving early for these dudes. I mean, this is literally the perfect matchup for this for what Kendrick Blackshire, Trezor Marshall, just overall this entire defensive front. They love to play. They hate to play at offenses like LSU. They love to play. This is literally classic 2009, 2010 Bama defense where Nick Saban's like, oh, thank God. Thank God playing a team like this.
Yep. Hey, so also on the defensive side, man, we talked a little bit about this secondary. Let's talk about that star lineup we think we need to go ahead and see for the rest of the season. With Key being down, we saw Story get some burn, but we really saw some effectiveness with a particular lineup, and I want you to talk about it, man.
Yeah, so I would love to say, you can put Malachi Moore at safety. get Terran Arnold, play the star, and just get Trey Amos paired up with Kool-Aid on those boundaries. I think that is the perfect lineup for him. Trey Amos, for what we've seen so far in the reps that he's gotten, the Tennessee game and now this, Trey Amos has played outstanding. And, again, Terry and Arnold, I think they're kind of both different players. Terrion is a much more physical player that you can simply just use to jam up. He is a disruptive type of guy. And, again, Terry and Arnold is a guy that's making a lot of money. Every week we see him play. I mean, last week he made an argument he was the best defensive back again last week or on Saturday. And, but for the most part, he's a very versatile guy that can play both star and that can play as at the boundary. But with the way that Trey Amos is playing, the way that he's really starting to grasp his defense and how everything's kind of clicking all cylinders, Malachi Moore as a safety just plays a lot, believe it or not, plays a lot better as a safety. He plays a lot better as a safety, especially because you can use him both ways. You can bring him up and use him as an extra backer, and how he's been playing against the run game. That's going to be a strength for him. You can use him if you want to send him as an extra, kind of that more as an extra pass rusher. That's kind of been one of his. That's always kind of been one of his strengths too. If you want to kind of send him to be that extra pass rusher, especially coming down as a safety, he can do that as well. He's I think that his range is underrated, in my personal opinion, compared to him and Key. But overall wise, I think that is the lineup where I think you're just more comfortable with. And I like Christian Story. I think Christian Story took some chances on Saturday.
Yes.
But he's a guy that I think is still kind of learning. He's not quite there yet. I think what your best possible lineup is, the way that Trey Amos is playing right now on the outside, until everything kind of blows up, which it has not been blowing up. He's gotten better almost every single week that he's since the reps that he's had. I'm confident with putting Arnold at star and then just having more at playing at safety and just see where it goes from there.
Facts. I'm right there with you. That lineup should be the base lineup from here on out. If Key gets back healthy, bring him in as your dime safety, and then walk more down. But your base nickel set, the base 3-3-5 or 2-4-5, whatever you want to call it, we jump out in. I think that Arnold sliding inside just provides you with, because it's not like he's bad on run support. We saw him jump the pass game, the screen game, when they try to extend the run game to the perimeter. We see him come up and is very aggressive on run support. He nor Amos nor, well, I won't say Amos. We haven't been able to see Amos get as active in that aspect of the game. But he and Malachi Moore and Caleb Downs, they attack the run game with aggressive, and they're your interior defense secondary guys. So you would love to just let Amos and Kool-Aid, who are lockdown corner guys. Amos is a dog out there, man. And I always allude back to Coach Saban. Before the strip sack with Jahad Campbell, he said if he was standing there in the same line of sight as Trey Amos, if Joe Milton had let that ball go, and y'all can go back and look at the play. That's a pick six.
Yeah, that's
Trey Amos. Trey Amos he was coming out of his break so beautifully, like textbook. It looked like he was doing a workout. You know how these kids love to put a workout film together and make these edited videos, and they showing their footwork and stuff. The way he was able to sink them hips and explode out of that cut. Joe Milton lets that ball go. If it's low and he's able to just DB catch it with his arms and stomach, that's to the house, baby. But Amos is a guy, he could play the ball very well. He's very good with the ball in his hands, and he can go up there and get it. So I would love to see that, man. And Kool-Aid returning, look like he's kind of trying to return back to that dog mentality this last game. I want to give props to him, especially on that punt when he came up aggressively to secure it. And I think it had us down at our 35, 37 or something like that when he secured that punt after we was able to force them in an early punt situation. So, yeah, I'm more than happy about these DBs. Caleb Downs is the truth, though, man. Caleb Downs, as a true freshman, for him to be a true freshman and to be doing what he's doing, leading the team in interceptions, tackles, and literally just getting better every week. This guy's going to be, man, to have that on the back end of our defense for the next 2 years. It's a lovely sight to see, man. Lovely sight to see. And I know the Alabama fans are excited to continue to see him grow. Another hot topic, man. Back on the other side of the ball. why is the Alabama fan base still yelling for Justice Haynes, even though everybody in front of him is just progressively getting better and being more effective? What is the issue with the Alabama nation and trying to get these freshmen out here on the field early when we have nothing but success in front of them? What what's kind of help me get hip to that, because I don't see it.
It's the 5-star ranking. It's the 5-star number one running back type ranking, where it's like, why did we pick up this guy and he's not immediately contributing compared to some of the other 5-stars? You look at Caleb Downs. Everyone knew that Caleb Downs was going to be a dog. Everyone knew that Caleb Downs at some point was going to be an All-American caliber player. Justice Haynes, number one in his position, come out of high school, come out of Buford, Georgia, dominant in high school. What he did to Thompson, which were 7A all state champions. Everyone wants that type of, you want to see it. You want to see the electricity. You want to see the agility, the speed, the excitement. And when you see him, like I said, when he's there, when he's on the field, he is probably the most exciting running back out of them all. So I think of just basically the hype, basically the 5-star ranking. They want to see him play. It's the same thing with Ty Simpson. It's the same thing with a Keon Keeley 5-star type guy. Same thing with James Smith, right? You
Quay
want to see
Russaw.
exactly a Russo. You want to see these 5-star Ricks, Desmond Ricks. You want to see these 5-stars in the game. But like I said, guys, it's a process. And Jam Miller, who had an explosive spring game last year, I think either last year or the season before that, Jam Miller had to wait his turn. You saw Jam Miller. Jam Miller had to wait a while for him to get an opportunity. You saw what he was able to do with this game when the opportunity did present. Made some big impact with plays. Rodell Williams, coming out of high school, was hyped up to being the next Josh Jacobs. Had to wait his turn in order for him to get an opportunity. And Jace McKellen, another 5-star coming out of Odio in Texas, one of the best high school running backs, 5-star guy, thought was supposed to go to Oklahoma, switched in the last possible second to Alabama, had to wait his turn. Got injured, torn his ACL, came back, and still had to be the number 2 guy. And then he finally got his opportunity. People forget, what university that we're in, man. This is not Colorado. This is the University of Alabama, man. With the amount of 5- and 4-star guys that we have here, the amount of NFL caliber players that we have here, there's just players that simply just have to wait their turn.
I want to acknowledge this. I want to acknowledge this comment, bro. No Serfdom says, just eager to see what Justice has. The other 3 running backs have been very good, but none are quite what Bama had with Gibbs. I don't believe Justice Haynes is Jahmyr Gibbs. That I think he's going to be better. Because we're going to have a little bit more full body of work to work with when it's his time. But you don't go out there and just waste value when you have no reason to with a guy like Justice Haynes. I guarantee you, because he's already played in more than 4 games, you don't waste a red shirt year with a guy like Justice Haynes. We saw the same happen with Derrick Henry. We saw the same happen with Bo Scarborough. I think Bo Scarborough ended up having to take a medical red shirt, though, right? 1 year?
Yeah, because he got hurt, injury.
Yeah. So, but his freshman year, he got thrown into the fire. We saw Eddie Lacy, TJ Yeldon, all those type of guys get spot play their freshman year. And we're seeing the same with Justice, in games where psychologically you don't want the moment to be too big for a guy who knows he can get out there and just be the workload. You want him to go out there and just kind of be fluent. And Justice has shown that with every run, he's going to try to take it to the house. He's going to try to display and you want to see that on a consistent level. So you challenge that by spot playing a young guy and teaching him the importance of being prepared and ready. So when it comes to fall, ain't no preparing them. Spring ball, ain't no preparing Justice Haynes or Richard Young or Jam Miller. These guys are ready. We have a 3-man grouping set up right now that can go to any university, any team in the SEC right now and be effective and be implemented and be an impact. There's no need to rush when you got guys with experience like Roydell and Jace in front of them. And we can say Jam now because Jam is really just he's showing his value to this team. So I'm not too eager to. I don't want to see Justice out there. I don't want to see. I honestly wish we didn't have to unveil Jalen Hale this early. But we got another guy behind Hale. You guys are probably going to think I'm crazy, but when he gets the opportunity next offseason, y'all gonna be like, okay, this dude Coach Swoop might know what he's talking about. But um, I don't want to see Justice out there too early. I don't want to see none of those McVay, Alanine, those guys. I want because of what we have now, what was developing in front of them, and I think that's what Saban is always alluded to. Who can process these things and develop at a more consistent rate, not faster or slower, but at a consistent rate to where the development of the team is based off of this cohesive progression as a team. And sometimes you might have, like I had a quarterback that was better than the quarterback we had to start. He was a great quarterback, better arm, but his mental wasn't at the progression rate that the team needed. So yes, you going out there and you're seeing zone and telling your wide receiver to sit or to to sit in the zones, find the spot. But that wide receiver don't understand that. So instead of trying to make the wide receiver think, because if you throw him the ball and get it to him, it's success every time. We need to dumb it down and make it simple to where there's communication. So we start the second string guy, and he produced as if he was the better quarterback. So to be in that position and have that type of problem and those things that we're dealing with, 5 stars sitting on the bench and waiting, knowing that they have the ability and they're ready to get out there and be an impact. That's a good thing to have. So not necessarily. I don't want to see him. I just don't want to rush him out there. There's no need to. Now, what I will say this: if we get up against Georgia and this is like a game, I don't know if y'all remember when Najee Harris and the freshman group 2 and all them. I know y'all remember second and 6. If you go back and look at when Najee Harris used to get carries that year, always trying to break big runs. Run's supposed to go through the A gap. He trying to jump out to the C gap because
always trying to hurdle somebody when it didn't need to happen. Like
I think Justice presents the same type of issues because he was doing it in fall camp. They were Justice was doing it in fall camp to the seniors, veteran guys on the defense. And so Coach Saban, he's learning. He's learning from he learned from not trying to challenge Jalen Hurts to be a better passer. That's why the development of Milroe is happening the way it is right now. I can guarantee it. He learned his lesson. He wishes he never stunted him and Dan Enos, I believe, was the offensive coordinator or the QB coach that year.
He was the QB coach. Well, I think this was 2018. He was the QB coach.
Yeah. And they were on record admitting like we kind of stunted Jalen's growth in the passing game with how we handled him with the play calling and development during that season because of how good the defense was. So it's great to see this continued evolution of this program. And yeah, man, I'm excited about this game Saturday. Before we get out of here, we got about 15 minutes, man. Let's get into our predictions and things of that nature, man. The chat is still going in. I love it. Keep writing your questions and your statements. We see it. We're starring some of these comments. The last 5 minutes, we're going to acknowledge some of them, and then we're going to get up out of here. Let's go with our predictions and MVPs, man. And let's get real extensive with this week. It don't have to be one particular MVP. Just what we see happening as far as the mode of this game, final score, and key players.
I'm going to say prediction 34-17. MVP for the game. I'm gonna look at the defensive side of the ball. I'm gonna go with Tim Keenan. I'm gonna go with Tim Keenan. Again, he might not put up the gruesome stats, but as far as clogging up run lanes, as far as being a monster, as far as the interior pass rushing goes, as far as being extremely disruptive, I think Tim Keenan is. Like I said, I can go with Tim Keenan or Timothy Smith or Jaheim Otis. I can go with any one of those guys. But for this game, Kentucky's going to try to make it messy. They're going to try to make it ugly, and it's going to start with those guys up front to stop a guy like Ray Davis from trying to go off on him. So I'm gonna go with Tim Keenan as one of the as an MVP candidate. And again, one of the keys for the game: stop Ray Davis, stop that run game. They're going to try to go downhill. They're going to try to be physical. They're going to be using a lot of play action. They do have some speedster receivers, right? They got some guys that very similar to Mississippi State. How they got a couple guys that are really, really good after the catch. But for the most part, this is a game that's made for Bama's defense. This is a perfectly tailor-made game for Bama's defense. And I think that overall wise, a key for stopping the course is mitigating that run game and kind of slowing it down and not letting Kentucky really chew off a lot of that clock.
Okay. jump into a score prediction, man. I got a good feel about this game. I want to hear where you at with it.
Yeah, 34-17.
34-17. Okay. My initial prediction in MVPs, man. I want to say I kind of see this game going being an early game. The way this team ended against LSU, the way they're on fire. I don't think this is an early season wake up game, afternoon game. This is a different feel because we've had our early season uh afternoon game and we saw how that game turned out in Arkansas. So I don't think we want to see I don't think the team wants to go through that again. But I really see this defense coming out fired up and Kentucky and that O line, they're finally starting that wear and tear is starting to come on. They're not as explosive in the run game. It's still effective. That run game is still effective, but I think in order for them to have success this game against us, they're going to have to get into their passing game. And if they can't find success there, I don't see them scoring many points. So my score prediction, I'm leaning more so towards the 42 with some real record field goal kicks because Coach Saban wanted him to get back in it, get back out of back in his head, get back right. I think we could hit the 42-48 mark this week. And that's with second string getting in late third quarter. So I'm gonna go 48-13. I honestly see this possibly being our first shutout game, like true shutout game. If this defense could come out fired up, if we come out awake and the offense doesn't spell opportunities when the defense gives them opportunities, they can go out there and extend drives, 6 to 9 play drives consistently and put up points. Or if they put us in good field position and we're going out there 5 plays and scoring, and the defense going out there averaging, 2.5 minute possessions against their Kentucky offense, cut their time of possession in half. This game can get out of hand. So, but right now I'm gonna stick with that 40. I'm gonna say 45, Kentucky 10. 45-10. That's what I'm gonna go with. Y'all take it, write it down for me, y'all. Coach Smoot 45-10, and I think Coach J said
34-17.
34-17. Okay. Yeah, I'm liking it. I could feel either one of those. This is one of those games where I know we're going to win, just by how much and what type of energy we start off with. Because, like you said, with them being at home, they might be able to get up early for this one. This is their home game. It's against us. They have a solid defense. It's about if their offense can get going early, and I'm not confident in that, but I can see it happening.
I think that's kind of another thing too. The fact that this is going to be a 12 o'clock Eastern or 11 o'clock Central type of game, and you just came off of one of the biggest wins that you've had, probably the biggest one you've gotten so far of the year. Does that high kind of come down a little bit quickly, and do you not try to be as motivated for this game compared to, because like I said, even though that pretty much sealed the West, for the most part you have to win every game, then you win the West, because no, you have to lose 2 games because you beat Ole Miss. So even if you lose this game, you still are in control of the West, but you're still fighting for the playoffs, right?
Yes.
You lose a game, that's pretty much done with. Even if you beat Georgia in the championship game, you're not going to get in. So
yeah, if we beat Georgia, no SEC team getting in. Yeah, with 2 losses, if we beat Georgia with 2 losses,
no one's getting in.
Yeah,
unless chaos just
right.
falls apart.
It would have to go crazy. But I want to leave it off with this too, bro. With the way this team is trending, man, and like I said, I think we've had that opportunity of playing that early. Don't get up for the early game. We saw it against USF. We saw it against Arkansas. I haven't seen this team make the same mistake twice many times this year. That's even on the mentality standpoint, man. So I have a lot more confidence going into this game, seeing the matchup on paper, seeing it it favors us. I just don't know. Like, you know what I'm saying? That 12 o'clock, I'm ready to see that challenge. If I had to have a challenge for us to overcome, it would be just that early kickoff, man. If we can get up and have that same energy coming out the locker room, I think we go crazy. Let's hit some of these comments and score predictions. Carl Taylor said 38-10. I can see that. George Johnson said 40-17. So we got so everybody thinks we're going to be up with
Eric
35, 41.
Eric 41-13, 56-10 by Derman.
Mm-hmm.
Bama Gold 37-13, so kind of close to that. I mean, we'll see. We'll see. I hope so. The one thing I'll say this real quick. The one thing that does worry me so much is not even is again, yeah, we're playing at 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock in the morning, so there's that factor to consider. But are we going to go back to what this Bama offense was during that Arkansas game or during that the A&M game, the past games we had? Because this is one of those games where you don't want to make it messy with Kentucky. You don't want to give them hope and give them just thinking that they have a chance to hang along with you. That's my only concern with going into this game against Saturday.
I want fans to stop doing this too, man. The tight ends were definitely involved in Saturday's offensive success. Just because they're not getting the passes and getting the catches, they were very much
all three of them.
Part. Yes, they were very much important in the offensive success. One thing we lacked last year was the ability for tight ends to provide pass protection or run blocking on a consistent basis. And this year, that has been nullified. And I mean, Danny Lewis even got in and just like the physicality up front right now is higher than we've seen in probably like 4 years, man. I'm talking about across the board where guys want to get in there and get the hats in the mix. So guys, stop stat chasing. Stop stat chasing and watch the film. This tight end group is probably the deepest next to Georgia's tight end room. Stop stat chasing. Tight ends don't only get to the league for catching passes downfield. Knee Black is probably building more value with showing that he can get in and be a run blocker. They see this 6'4", 6'5" kid that can stretch the field and be a mismatch against linebackers. That's obvious. We know he can catch. We know he can run. Can he do the other part that's going to create value for him? And I see guys buying into that. So stop stat chasing. Stop stat chasing.
No, I agree. I completely agree. I mean, Robbie Oots, how he's getting more involved. You look at, Amari Niblack. I'm telling you, his time's coming. Amari Niblack's time is coming, man, because he's getting open on some of these route concepts. And again, but the fact that you're talking about a 6'3", 220 type guy that doesn't, I mean, traditionally you would just think that he's a guy that is going to be used in certain personnel sets, not really being used in 12 personnel and in 11.
Talking about Knee Black.
Yeah, Knee Black. Like,
Knee Black's 240, bro. He's not 220.
Oh, 240. Oh, yeah.
He just a long.
He has that slender frame, man. He doesn't have the biggest frame, but like you would think a tight end kind of his caliber would be more of a guy that is being used in certain sets, not in 12 or 13 or 12 or 13. You wouldn't think particularly right. That, especially as a run blocking role, right? If he's going to be playing more as an inline guy, and you think that's the guy that's going to be going on routes, right. Not a guy that's going to be blocking and helping chipping big 250 or 60 pound edge rushers or defense or even defensive linemen. So now I agree. Like these players, their stocks are going up. It's not going down at all. And even Niblack for what he has for what he's done so far, he's pretty compared to some of the tight ends that we have. Because like I said, besides Irv Smith and OJ Howard, and you got to go all the way back to the 70s. You got to go all the way back to the 70s in order for us to be finding the prolific tight end. I mean, we haven't really had great statistical type guys. So,
and the guy that we thought was going to be able to get over that hump, Billingsley, man, it never clicked with him. So, even Latu was serviceable, man, but he never played tight end a day in his life till he got to Alabama. So
yeah, not everyone is Ozzie Newsome. Like, right. we're not putting up Ozzie Newsome numbers.
That's my uncle, man. I found out Ozzie Newsome was a relative at my grandmother's funeral.
Oh, that's dope. I didn't even know about that. But yeah, shout out to not everyone's the GOAT. Not everyone's the GOAT at the tight end position here in Alabama, man. Not everyone's OJ Howard and OJ Howard even put up great stats his first 2 years.
I see Knee Black being able to be our first true Kyle Pitts type guy. You know what I'm saying? Like next year be his year. This year is his coming out. People are starting to notice because if you look at how even how LSU played him, they didn't just free release Knee Black when he split. they Most tight ends get free releases because they're not worried about it being shifty, but they don't free release. Most teams are not free releasing him. So I think it's a year to where we're getting a glimpse of what this future is going to be. You got a guy like Nee Black and Lewis coming back next year with Caleb Odom coming on campus. Um, I think Kilsman will probably be back next year. People still have yet to see this kid, but he's a hard worker. I don't think he's going to leave and try to stat chase or number chase anywhere. He's bought into this program, and will be effective when he does get an opportunity. But this tight end room is deep. Wide receiver room is great right now. Ja'Cory Brooks dealing with an injury, so I'm starting to feel like he's kind of getting phased out. You know what I'm saying? Sad to see it, but I hope that's not the case because I know I would love to see another big catch from Ja'Cory Brooks for his last year against Auburn in the Iron Bowl in Jordan here. I would love to see that, man. Oh my God. But yeah, I mean, I'm excited, guys. That's us for tonight, man. My boy Sweet Home Bama 22 says, Coach Smoot, how's Shaz Preston progressing? I haven't heard anything negative or much about Shaz Preston other than him still being the number 3 guy behind Benson at that position. Um, like I said, this is just one of those years where it's not a issue of productivity with guys in their spots as starters and guys like that. It's just an issue with opportunities. You know, what's the situation calling for? And in that wide receiver room, when the situation is dialed up for wide receivers to make plays, everybody that's been put out on that field for the most part, when their number is called, they're making plays. I think we're still less than 10 drops on the season, Coach Jay. I think total as a team we're less than 10 drops. So
Yeah, we don't have a high drop rate. We're actually we actually have one of the highest catch rates in the country.
so that to me, and you have I think 14 different receivers, total receivers right now recorded a stat at Alabama. Not wide receivers, but different guys with receptions. That's running backs, tight ends, and wide receivers. So I know 4 of the running backs have receptions, 3 of the tight ends, 4 of the tight ends have receptions. So that's 80 of your guys, you know. And then your 5, 6, it might be more than that. Because Hale has some receptions. Kobe, Isaiah Malik, Ja'Cory, Jermaine. So I mean, that's 15 names right there with receptions this season with your new starting quarterback who doesn't have quarterback ability. So I love the progression. And like I said, I made a bold statement. I said LSU game would be the game where Jalen Milroe would begin to be heard in these Heisman talks and be a serious candidate. And I guarantee you, if Kentucky commits to stopping the run, we're going to see an explosion out of this receiving core, tight end room included, this game. Carl, you think Aaron Anderson coming back? I said the same thing. Not that he's going to come back. I think it'll be a thing, one of those things where he kind of takes a year off. And Aaron Anderson is the type of talent that only needs one big season, like J-Mo. So if that was to happen, I know y'all saw the video circulating when Coach Saban went up to him and said, "You be playing more."
He might stay though, because Malik Neighbors and Bryant Towers, I don't think they're going to be there next year. I think they're gone, so that may provide a chance in order for him to get on the
field. Aren't they both juniors?
Yeah. Neighbors is gone. He's definitely gone. And then Thomas, if he continues to have the season he has, he's going to be gone as well.
Lacey is a red shirt sophomore, I think, too, and Lacey can go second round and get to a second contract, bro.
Mm-hmm.
I honestly believe that, and I'm not, you know, what they call him, padding nobody's stats or anything, but he's a solid. He could be a number 1 receiver if he was on another team. He's just got Neighbors and beast mode over there. I think honestly, to me, if I'm looking at wide receivers, man, I like Thomas, man. Neighbors is a different type of guy, but Thomas I feel like he gonna get into the league and be like that second or third year guy that just becomes him. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. He's a big slot that's trying to transition to playing. He's gonna make that transition. He's gonna make that transition. He's gonna be that boundary type guy that's just extremely explosive. He's more like a Mike Williams type of receiver.
Speaking of Mike Williams, Alabama has a recruit on our radar. Travis Smith Jr. out of Westlake High School in Georgia. Y'all go start looking them up. Don't say I didn't tell you nothing. I'm telling y'all, this kid is going to bring something different. Him, Ryan Williams, and French. If we can get all three of those in this recruiting class, that'll be he's a highly rated 4-star right now. Might be a 5-star by the end of his senior year. But him, Ryan Williams, and French coming in together, it can get ugly.
Okay.
It can get ugly. And Julian saying, being able to sit a year, all of them sit their first year together, get them second team reps like Tua and the 4 horsemen used to get when they came in that freshman year. We have the possibility of that happening, y'all. And this team is really, Coach Saban and his staff are continuing to trend upward. We're at an hour and a half mark, man. We appreciate you all hanging around. We got 163 hanging out at an hour and a half. I lost track of time because I'm not at home in my old place, so it kind of has a different feel in my background and stuff. But definitely enjoyed being here. It felt good to be able to see some familiar faces in the chat, guys. Once again, Coach Jay, pop your stuff, man. Tell the people where they can find you and how to keep in touch with you and interact with you through social media.
Yep, Jan716 on Twitter. You can definitely interact with me there. I'd pretty much respond to pretty much every tweet that's come my way. And then Jant Sports on YouTube. You can find the little avatar that you kind of see on the screen. If you kind of, if it's hard to find me, just look at that little kind of anime cartoon of myself, and boom, you will click on me right there, and you will see more uncensored type stuff, more ranting. Just put up some content talking about my Bills. Shout out to Duke. I know Duke's in the live chat. It is what it is there. Bama videos, got a couple of them that are going to be on the way, so definitely stay tuned for those. But yeah, that's where you can find me.
For sure, man. And you all know where you all can find me. I'm at Coach Smook on every platform, man. If you haven't already, get locked in on the Twitter. This past weekend, Coach Jay was able to jump into the live game day chat, and it gets fun in there, man. It gets spicy but it's respectable. Everybody's in there talking. You had fans, LSU fans. We had 2 LSU fans in there. One was pretty quiet, but the other one, Biggie, he's a former player, played at LSU. He was in there and was showing love, man. And it was all good fun and just great atmosphere. So definitely be looking out for that. My Twitter, YouTube is going to be kind of slowed down for the next 2 weeks or so as my family and I were kind of transitioning. We're moving. I'm in the hotel, so I will be able to do all my podcasts. Catch me on Bleacher Report tomorrow, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Bleacher Report. I'll be reacting to the college football playoff rankings and also just giving my take on where we should be fitting, where we could possibly end up going forward. It won't be any in-depth analysis about Alabama versus Kentucky because we'll be saving that for another show. But come through, man. Let's talk about the college football playoffs, and we kind of could talk more about the college football landscape as a whole outside of Alabama. And also, with that being said, man, I can't forget because this show last week was impromptu. I think that was our first one last week, Coach Jay, with the college football roundtable.
Yeah.
So we're that's on Wednesdays.
Yep.
Okay, so we're going to continue to pick that up, guys. Be on the lookout for that show on Wednesdays. Come in so we could talk all college football, not just Alabama, all college football. So get the other fans in here. Let's talk. This will be a chance for us to interact with fans. We have the ability to keep it clean and keep it football in the chat. So invite your friends that you'd like to talk good trash with, that can talk football and do that thing of the nature. Invite them over. Tell them to join the chat. We love to acknowledge it, man. That's when we take, like y'all like to say, I have my Bama goggles on. We take the Bama goggles off. Well, I do. And we just talk college football in general. So anything else, Coach Jay, that you got for him?
No. Oh yeah. Shout to Coach Sean. Sean couldn't be here today because he's at a tournament. He's at a tournament right now. I actually got to ask him to see how it was over there, but he's at a tournament. I think he will be back on Wednesday. If not, then definitely post game in the Monday nights. Coach Sean will be here as well. Like I said, I know a lot of you guys, including us, we miss Coach Sean.
Yes.
I got to say this for the one time, man. The truth is in the details.
And, I was going to say it.
So shout, he's definitely back, man. But yeah, shout to Coach Sean.
And y'all know how Sean do. He get close on that camera
to the bike, dog.
I'm gonna say like this now. The truth is in the details. Like I always say, the truth is in the details. And that's it. So y'all, yeah, shout out to Coach Sean, man. We miss you, bro. But other than that, man, Roll Tide chat. It's been a great night. CFB, I think we are ranked number 7. I think coming into this week it was number 7. So we didn't move up in the AP polls, which is I could care less. My thing is if we win, and then at this point they're telling us it doesn't matter how we win, you know, we just need to win. So let's just win. If we win, everything else will handle itself. That's the rest of the games, every game that's put in front of us. And that's how it should be thought about it at any other time, you know, whether it's a one-loss team, whatever. If you win your games, every game that's in front of you, you know.
We're probably gonna stick with 8 because I know TJ just asked that. We're probably gonna be sticking. We're literally probably gonna be sticking the way we are right now because of Oregon's dominance. Right, you can't see me, but I got the fingers up. The Oregon's dominance and the fact that Washington already beat them. So
yeah,
we're probably gonna stick the way we are. But everything's gonna take care of itself. I have no worry.
Michigan and Ohio have to settle their thing out. Florida State's looking shakier every week, which is surprising because I really felt like y'all remember our assessments. I felt like they were one of the more poised teams, looked like one of the more complete teams. So, but we'll dive into all that this Wednesday. So you all pull up for that. Be on the lookout for those notifications and those tweets because I will be sharing them via Twitter and Facebook. So definitely connect you guys. And with that being said, we definitely appreciate you guys. Shout out once again to Kyle Henderson and the Bama Football on YouTube network, this channel. He's doing great things, as you all know. Get ready to check out all the content that he's posting today. He has a lot of things going on with this channel. And be ready to see a lot more of the coaches because we really about to step our game up and get this leg work in. We really want to make it to Atlanta, y'all. We want to try to meet some of y'all in Atlanta this year. So just continue to share the content. Continue to help us grow. You know, the more views, the more comments, the more money. And the less I got to spend to get a ticket to go back home to Atlanta and kick it with y'all. So be on the lookout for some information going forward, guys. And we appreciate y'all. Roll Tide, everybody in chat. And we out.
Roll Tide.